Hi, I'm Alex Pacer. I will be reading from the banned book One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest by Ken Casey. The guys complained and kidded and joked about it, trying not to look at one another or those floating slate masks working down the line behind the tubes, like nightmare faces and negative, setting down soft, squeezy nightmare gun barrels. They kidded the black boys by saying things like, "Hey Washington, what do you fellas do for fun the other 16 hours? Hey Williams, can you tell me what I had for breakfast?" Everybody laughed. The black boys clenched their jaws and didn't answer. This wasn't the way things used to be before that damn redhead came around. When Fredrickson spread his cheeks, there was such a sound I thought the least black boy be blown clear off his feet. "Hark," Harding said, cupping his hand to his ear, the lovely voice of an angel. Everyone was roaring, laughing, and kidding one another, until the black boy moved on and stopped in front of the next man, and the room was suddenly absolutely quiet. The next man was George. And in that 1 second, with the laughing and kidding and complaining stopped, with Fredrickson there next to George straightening up and turning around and a big black boy about to ask George to lean his head down and a big black boy about to ask George to lean his head for a squirt of that stinking salve, right at that time all of us had a good idea about everything that was going to happen, and why it had to happen, and why we'd all been wrong about McMurphy. George never used soap when he showered. He wouldn't even let someone hand him a towel to dry himself with. The black boys on the evening shift, who supervised the usual Tuesday and Thursday evening showers, had learned it was easier to leave it go like this, and they didn't force him to do any different. That was the way it had been for a long time. All the black boys knew it. But now everybody knew, even George, leaning backward, shaking his head, covering himself with big oak leaf hands, that this black boy, with his nose busted and his incised sword, and his two buddies standing behind him waiting to see what he would do, couldn't afford to pass up the chance. "Ah, bend your head down here, George." The guys were already looking to where McMurphy stood, a couple of men down the line. "Ah, come on, George." Martini and Seatfelt were standing in the shower, not moving. The drain at their feet kept choking short little gulps of air and soapy water. George looked at the drain a second, as if it were speaking to him. He watched it gurgle and choke. He looked back at the tube and the black hand before him, slow mucus running out of the little hole top of the tube down the pig iron knuckles. The black boy moved the tube forward a few inches, and George listed farther back, shaking his head. "No, none of that stuff. You're gonna have to do it, rub-a-dub-dub," the black boy said, sounding almost sorry. "You're gonna have to. We can't have this place crawling with bugs now, can we? For all I know, you got bugs on you a good inch deep." "No," George said. "Ah, George, you just don't have no idea. These bugs, they very, very teeny, no bigger than a pinpoint. And man, what they gonna do is get you by the short hair and hang on, and drill down inside you, George."